Welcome back to the Eric Krown Crypto channel. Wishing you a happy and healthy start to this nice Saturday morning over here. It's nice and bright and sunny over in Helsinki, but not nice and bright and sunny in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency land, of which I wanted to follow up on the higher term time frame ideas and kind of come to what is expected for the next few weeks to come, basically going into early September, based off the probabilistic and statistical analysis that we have been looking at with a lot of new things, of which I'll actually spread out between today and tomorrow, in fact. So without further ado, let's just jump into it right here. I always want to start it off with the one chart to rule them all, the biggest, baddest chart that we've been watching, and it has been very, very consistent, and it is once again, shown why it should be heated, or at least respected a bit. And what is this? Well, this is a volatility versus momentum signal, specifically the volatility of stochastic momentum represented by this moving metric right here, and then of course stochastic momentum itself represented by this metric right here. Anyways, anytime that we have seen the volatility of stochastic momentum get down to extreme lows, which are defined as basically whenever it kind of reaches these green vertical bar areas that you can see across your screen right now, the expansion phase from those extreme lows has led to an updated, by the way, average move of 23.76%, done over the course of an updated 8.64 days, which is relatively fast. And the stochastic momentum also has gone the correct direction on that volatility expansion about 90% of the time. And obviously this one's going to account for yet another iteration where it has gotten the direction correctly. Again, we're talking about statistics, not certainties, obviously, but in this case, working pretty damn well. And seeing that it is expanding from extreme lows right here, I would really consider that this is going to be, a bigger move in this case. There is some variance within these measurements, so it's probably going to be on the upper end of that. So let's play around with the numbers for right now, keeping in mind that the average days taken once the signal is given is just over, just over a week basically, which would kind of put us into basically the last week of August, which is going to have other effects coming into September, by the way, but we're going to do that soon enough. And if we do shave off about 23% off of our current price action from the top, that would put Bitcoin basically around the current lows, somewhere a little bit above $19,000. I do think that that number is rather interesting, simply because that is around the 786 Fibonacci retracement if you use 17,500 as the current low. And so we do have good confluence right there. And I would be looking for a bounce, very, 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 very likely there, and probably in between, maybe even where we're at right now for the lower term time frames. The weekend would be a good time for that. Anyways, these numbers keep in your mind's eye, because again, they're going to play into the next chart over here. So this is the 2-day chart, which is another volatility versus stochastic momentum analysis right here, but a different time frame and a different measurement for the volatility indicator. We're going to be using BBWP, and this one's been tested rather well, and of course we have seen this one play out a few times even in the past few months. So with that said, the signal that we're looking at is when 2-day BBWP measuring volatility gets to extreme lows, which are defined as anything below 10 percentile, which by the way, it's below right now. The expansion phase from those extreme lows has led to an average move of 37.33%. So this is obviously, a greater move. And by the way, we have not seen expansion just yet. In the prior chart, we have seen expansion as we defined yesterday with the actual volatility indicator getting a positive slope right there. In this case, for the 2-day BBWP, we have not seen it just yet. We want to see a positive slope on the BBWP and also above the moving average with also that having a positive slope as well. That would be the trifecta of essentially a confirmation of this signal. With that in mind, the average days taken to the next major high or low is about 19, so just under 3 weeks right there. And the stochastic momentum also has been correct in getting the direction of the volatility expansion about just over 83% of the time. So not as good as the prior one that we just looked at, but I would say, over 80%. Pretty fucking good in my book. Anyways, of course, these are personal decisions that, you obviously need to make for yourself. But in my opinion, that's deep. Good enough, man. Good enough. Anyways, the reason why I'm bringing this one up right now is because it's pointed to the downside. So we have another downside indication. The stochastic momentum pivot is at 24,550. So as long as Bitcoin's below that region, which is more than $3,000 away from current price action, the probabilities remain to the downside. And because the average move for this one is bigger, well, we can start to come up with some ranges, on the highs and lows. So again, going back to this chart over here, on this one, we were looking at, an average move pretty much back down to like $19,000 lows, a little bit above there to be fair. On this chart, obviously, that's going to be a bigger move. So let me just spread this out a little bit. and it's 37.33. So I'm going to take that from the top, and 37.33 would put Bitcoin at about $15,500. And I do think that that's worst case scenario for Bitcoin right now. I do think that the market in general, the sentiment is getting extremely bearish, and dare I say that this last top that we did see at about $25,000 seemed a little bit too easy. And it does seem like there's many people triumphantly calling for massively new lows, like significantly new lows towards, 12, 13, 14, 10,000, these sort of numbers and beyond. And hey, that might be true over time. But one of the things that I definitely saw in 2018, and that I'm sure any other veteran of 2018 and cycles prior can attest to, is the amount of times that Bitcoin can kind of bounce off of a base while just frustrating the rest of the market and inevitably being, even right on the direction is significant. For example, in 2018, if I bring you back over here, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe even a sixth one right here. Bounce attempts off the $6,000 lows before eventually having a catastrophic fall to majorly new lows. Could that be the case over here? Possible, yes. But I do think that, whether Bitcoin tries for another major low at about, over 19, or maybe even does, worst case scenario, get down to that $15,500 number, I personally, don't think that Bitcoin's going to go much lower than that before trying for, a greater bounce, a bigger bounce, essentially, a much bigger bounce than what we just saw, by the way. Anyways, in this case, I wanted to bring out a few other indications that do kind of corroborate that story. So let's go over here. We're going to the 5-day chart right now, and the 5-day chart is in the midst of, this is all but confirmed as far as I'm concerned. This is confirmed in my mind. It has been confirmed for a while now. This 5-day hidden bearish divergence between the highs that we did see in late May versus the highs that we're seeing right now in early August. And the highs in late May were obviously, still above 30,000 bucks. So that hidden bearish divergence was going to be available basically as long as Bitcoin's like below 30,000, especially. And now we're starting to finally see this one play out. So I'm looking for this one to reset. And ideally, we'd get some bullish divergence on the other side where Bitcoin, would basically come down to the lows, maybe make slightly new lows, and then start to print some regular bullish divergence. That would be a really, really good setup for a greater bounce long-term above $25,000. Also, we do see that the 5-day jewel has lost its upside curvature, as did the 2-day, which actually got a downside signature a couple days ago. And then the other thing that I wanted to point out over here was the 5-day stochastic momentum oscillator. So keep in mind, this one is not closing today, not closing tomorrow. It'll be closing the day after that, which I think is Monday, 3 days left to go basically at 7 p.m. Eastern time. But hey, if Bitcoin does close below $21,000, 5-day stochastic momentum will turn once again to the downside. We'll see something like this basically, and you can see that that would probably not be good for the boo laws right there, and be very, very likely good enough for Bitcoin to at least test $19,000. And if there is going to be a setup for another move lower towards 15.5, possibly, that would probably be it for me. Keep in mind that $15,500 also confluent, I do believe, with the 0.5. If I actually get this right, let me actually do this properly there. There we go. Oops, can I actually get it right? I think I can. Yeah, somewhere around there. The 0.5 Fibonacci retracement on the macro scale is somewhere around that region as well. So good confluence if that were to happen. So what essentially would make me start to look towards those regions, let's say $15,500, it would be this and only this. I'd need to see Bitcoin close on new wick lows, or sorry, below the current wick low, which is basically 17,000 and change right there, or preferably on CME, just on straight up new lows, which would be below about $18,500. One of those two scenarios would do it for me. And then, yeah, I'd probably be looking somewhere between like $16,000 to $15,500. That's where I'd really be looking for like a major low to be formed, and a much greater bounce than what we just saw to be formed as well, while frustrating the rest of the market, while everyone looks for, 12,000, 10,000, all these numbers, which again, they may be hit over time, but I don't think that we're going to see that on this current move here. I think I think worst case scenario, which I don't even think is actually that likely, would be like 15.5 to 16,000 bucks. All right, sweet. So we've gone over all of that. Now we should go over the lower term time frame ranges, because it is a weekend, and typically over the weekend I'm not like too compelled by price action, obviously, because weird things do happen. If I was just looking at this right here, we do have a few things of interest. If we take a fib pull from the high to the low of this current consolidation. You can see that the 618 is kind of around our current base, a little bit lower than that at about 20,350 to 20,400-ish region. Close enough in this case. Not 0.5 is at 21.2, and then we got the 382 at 22,100. I mean, that is to say, as long as Bitcoin's below the 382, there's really no reason to be looking for like anything resembling a reversal right now. Of course, we got the 786 around that 19,200 number, so that is coming up multiple times now. And yeah, below there, I guess at that point, I really do start to look for, I suppose, new lows, if you will. But on the lower term timeframes, what do we have? Well, over here, again, kind of in a bit of a bouncy region, we are starting to see extremes on 4-hour BBWP. It's actually not even coming into a contraction phase just yet, but it very, very likely will later today. Of course, you want to see that confirmed, but once that starts to happen, I'm looking for Bitcoin to level out, similar to what we were looking at yesterday with like, maybe it looks something like this, maybe tries for a bit of a bounce and then continues into next week. That's what I'd be looking for essentially. Let me just get rid of this stupid little drawings right there. And also when we reference lower term time frame stochastic momentum, similar to how we did yesterday, these things are getting like really fucking beat up right here. And it really wouldn't take too much to get a small corrective bounce. 6-hour stochastic momentum turns to the upside with any sort of closure above 21,000. 4-hour is going to be also pivoted to the upside above basically 21,000. 3-hour is also going to be pivoted above basically 21,000. And and all of these time frames, volatility indications are max extremes here. So it's probably more likely to trade sideways at best, or sorry, at minimum, and try for a bit of a bounce. Bi-hourly, same shit, and hourly is going to be probably the same shit, 21,000 bucks. So basically all time from 6-hour and lower pivoted at 21. Even the 12-hour, I do believe, is going to be loading and make me wait. How dare you? 21,500 or so. Yeah. So ultimately, over the weekend, bit of sideways, maybe tries for a bit of a bounce. I'm really most interested in what happens next week, which I generally would be looking for a continuation to the downside. Anyways, we're 12 minutes into this video. I think that's good enough for that. That is a long way of saying as long as Bitcoin is below 22,100, I am bearish. I'm bearish. I suppose, with short-term bounces in between. Other than that, I do want to let you know that I've been posting quite frequently on Instagram, both short market updates plus trading related sort of content, as well as also non-related content. So that may or may not be for you. If it is, there is a link in the description below. And then also we got Bybit offering 50% off of their options trading fees, and funded futures trading, which I will be making a video on soon enough, is basically offering to fund you up to $250,000 if you can basically pass their verification that you actually know how to trade. Anyways, all of those links going to be in the description below and in the comment section. With that said, much love to you. Take care and see you hopefully soon.